in entire application, you will create, okay, so let me draw it here. You have this single folder, and you will create multiple folders inside this folder. So this folder is controller folder, this folder is your services, this folder is your repository folder, this folder is your model folder. So every folder, it means every layer will have its own responsibilities. Like controller will accept the request from the client and give a response to the client. So this is the responsibility of controller, and basically controller means it will control all these services, the communication between all these services. So controller is really important layer. CONTROL, controller. Then we have services, we have mod. In services we write basically business logic, uh, everything, and services will use model. Okay, so let me write services. Here we have services. Then this folder is model, and this folder is your utility, or what is DAO, you can call it DAO. Okay, so DAO. So controller means it will handle all the requests from client and give a response to the client, and it will uses the function provided by services to execute them step by step. In services, you will write your all business logic, and services will use the objects from model is basically the replica of your database. So it will perform some activities on objects on model, which will be eventually get saved in your database. Then you have DAO, that is data access object. So this is basically the class defined, the class where it is defined the structure of your object that will be going to pass the data between all your layers. Like the object of this class will get the data from controller to and pass it to services. Then services will put the data in this object, and it will pass it to model will from model it will receive the data and pass it to the controller. So this is basically a flow of your information in your application. So I think this is you understood it. This is the whole design pattern of your entire application. So here I have taken an example of entire application student management system. In student management system, you have created multiple layers: controller layers, service layer, model layer. Controller layers will receive the request from your client and give a response to client. Service layer include all business logic. Model layer is a replica of your database, and it contains everything: columns and uh, everything, like what is your primary key, it has null value or not, everything will be described inside a model layer class. Then DAO layer, the object of DAO layer is used to transfer the data between these all layers. So repository layer, we use repository layer inside our application to do normal tasks which are not riskier. We use the object of model when we have to perform the very niche task, like you have the riskier task that you don't want to allow other classes to use it. So you have to write those things in model layer. So basically it is safer, it is not safer to use. You have to use it only when it is needed, and otherwise you have to use the repository layer. So this is basically a workflow in entire application. If you want, I will make a separate video on this. Comment it down if you want a separate video. Then what are the characteristics of monolithic application? So monolithic application characteristics, of first characteristic is it have a single code base. Just like I have explained earlier, the whole application have a single code base. Okay. Then tight coupling. So what is tight coupling? Tight coupling means everything is dependent on each other. So if you have small folder, everything is described inside a single file or a single folder. So you can imagine that everything will be interdependent on each other, and this is bad for the project. So in development, you have to focus on loose coupling, not tight coupling. Loose coupling means there should be minimum interdependent, there should be dependentness, but it should be minimum as possible, because if things are not dependent, it will be not fine. Whole application should be dependent, but things are should be dependent in a way that if one service is crashed, it will not affect the other service. Then you have a shared database. Next characteristic is shared database. So shared database means whole application will have a single database. It's a lot simple that you don't have multiple databases in monolithic application, and we not prefer to use multiple database inside a monolithic application. You only have single database, and you have to use that database only. Then this is the best characteristic. I love it. Single deployment. In monolithic application, you just have to take your folder. So hey, this is my monolithic application folder, I have to deploy it in cloud, so just take this folder, put it inside your server. So this is your server, put it inside your server and deploy it. Simple. It is not a headache. If it is a Java based folder or a Spring Boot folder, you can create a jar file of it, and you can deploy a jar file on EC2 instance or any other server you want. Then advantages of monolithic application. What are the advantages? Okay. Uh, First advantage is simple deployment. Everything is simple in monolithic application, from development to deployment to DevOps operation. Everything is simple. Then you have small teams in monolithic application. So if why you're using monolithic application? Because your project is small. So if you have a small project, then your teams will be also small. Then you have rapid development. The speed of development is really fast, because project is also small, and you have a whole control on your project. Everything is under control, speed is fast, everything is fine. But there are drawbacks also of this architecture. We will discuss it later. Then here it comes, the drawbacks. There are a lot of drawbacks in this architecture. That's why we have this much other architectures also. Microservices, event driven, serverless. Why we have? Because there are a lot of drawbacks in this architecture. So first drawback is scaling difficulty. Monolithic applications are not scalable, really not scalable. They are not manageable, they are not scalable. I personally don't like monolithic applications. So scaling is a problem. Bug impact. Second thing, bug impact is if you have a bug in your project, and if it crashed in deployment, so whole application will get crashed, and just have to restart the application again, and it will cost a lot of downtime. So this is not preferred. You have long build test, your everything at a single folder. So you have a large code base, so you have a large number of test cases, test cycle, and it will require a lot of time to build that project. So build means everything will be just like you have build a jar file from your Spring Boot project. Like, this is called building a project. So it will take a longer time to build the project, and make it ready for deployment. Then tech stack inflexibility. You are not flexible for using your, like, you want to use Next.js, Node, Spring Boot, Next database like Postgres. You want to use your Next.js, Node.js, and Postgres. Next.js, Node.js, and Postgres as database. ठीक है? Okay. Then you want, after some time or after 2 to 3 years, you want to shift the whole architecture to Spring Boot, Angular, and MySQL, for example, MySQL. Then you don't have the flexibility to use these both. You have to use either this one or this one, but you cannot use both of them at the same time. So let me remove it first. Okay, why can't we remove it? Okay, so okay, let leave it. Then you have team collaboration difficulty. There will be difficulty in team collaboration, because if everyone are working on a single code base, it will cause the conflict between them. Okay, then we have examples of monolithic application. Who in the industry uses monolithic application? So these are some examples like Netflix. Netflix used monolithic application in the initial days of their journey when they started their startup. The Netflix was a monolithic application. Everything their streaming, their whole code was defined inside a single folder. Then you have Amazon. Just imagine that search service, your payment service, your card service, and your order service, everything is described inside a single folder. So it caused a lot of problem to Amazon. That's why they shifted their whole architecture to microservices based architecture now. Just check the largest media in the world, the largest application in their when this company was small. So this is whole overview of monolithic application. We have discussed characteristics, advantages, disadvantages, and we discussed the combination of entire application with monolithic application, and it gives us a lot of benefit that everything will be structured, controller layer, service layer. That if a developer wants to find a bug, then it will be a lot of easier for him to find a bug in a monolithic application using this entire architecture. Um, Now, let us discuss how we can deploy a monolithic application, because it is important to discuss the deployment also. Because creating a monolithic application is not a difficult part. Even deployment is not a difficult part. But as a developer, you should know how we deploy a monolithic application on cloud. So, for example, this is your server. This is your server, and this is your EC2 server on AWS. Okay, this is your EC2 server. Then you take your application. For example, this is your Spring Boot application, and you bring your application on the server, and you run your you just want to deploy your application and use it. So you take your application to the server, and you started your application on port 8080. So you run your mvn spring boot run command. So this is command to start a spring boot project. Mvn spring boot um, ambient spring boot run command. You run this command on the terminal, and then this whole application is started now, and it has started on port 8080. Okay, so I will write here port 8080. Okay, 8080. The whole application started now on port number 8080. Okay, so and again, one thing, that this server has IP of 192.168.11.1. For example, this is the IP address of this server. Then this application started on the server on port number 8080. Then client will transfer his request to this IP address on this port number. It will be like 192.168. Hey, take my request to 192.168.111.1 on port number 8080. You will transfer your request like this, and it will go on this. Here you will write http colon slash slash. Okay, colon slash slash. Okay, transfer my request to this server, and your Spring Boot project will receive the request from your client, and your project will response back to your server. Sorry, your client. So this is how a very simple deployment of a Spring Boot application looks like on EC2 instance.